Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to our Monday night Mission Possible team connection. It is so wonderful to see your smiling faces. I know everybody's probably had a very busy day, but I appreciate the fact that you make time to be here as a part of this, as our team ongoing and what we're doing to cast vision and encourage and acknowledge each other. And I always invite everybody to be fully engaged. So you might want to have a pencil and piece of paper with you tonight, I would think. I think Paula said have a notebook, I believe, take some notes and have your calendar ready. But your choice to be here says so very, very much. And these calls, all of these calls, but are designed with each of us in mind, with each of you in mind to help us grow, to grow ourselves and to grow our business to make a better impact in our world. And each week when we come together, our purpose is to remind us and keep our focus on the greater mission, which is inspiring healthy living around the world. That's the Juice Plus mission. But we are the Mission Possible team, family, culture, community. That's what we are. But we are a growing team of inspired individuals who are ambassadors for change, dedicated, and really committed to creating a healthier, more prosperous life for families now and in future generations. So tonight, we are focusing on what we do yearly. This is a yearly event for us. The first Monday of every December, as far as I can remember, we have focused on something called the Big Rocks. And Paula Fontanelle and I are going to team up on that tonight. Question for you though, as we're preparing to step into this call, have you ever felt like time was your enemy, maybe versus your friend? Have you ever thought about that? Time is like, it's my enemy. It's like you're always in a rush or counting time. Maybe you often feel distracted thinking about what you've got to do next when you're in one place and then you're thinking about where you are needed to be in another place. In other words, you're not being fully present, as Jim Rohn has taught us so beautifully over the years. And I remember when I first learned and embraced the Stephen Covey's teaching on the Big Rock Principle some years ago, it changed my whole perspective of time, whether I was investing in time or I was spending time. Think about it. Sometimes we're just spending time, or are we investing? And maybe there's a place for both, but I'd rather most of my activities be involved in investing in my time that I have than spending it and then wondering where the day or the month went. So tonight, Paula's going to lead us in a conversation, and I'm going to share a few thoughts as well. So please help me welcome Senior Sales Coordinator Paula Fontanelle from Columbia, Missouri. So welcome, Paula.
Thank you, Sharon. I appreciate that. Well, the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to share a story. We have, again, heard this story every year, but I hope that in light of how 2020 has been, that maybe this meets you in a really new, fresh way. So have your notebooks out, and as I go through, if there are big rocks that you think of, write them down. So we'll start out with the story. A professor stood before his philosophy class and had some items in front of him. When the class began, he wordlessly picked up a very large and empty mayonnaise jar and proceeded to fill it with golf balls. He then asked the students if the jar was full. They agreed it was. The professor then picked up a box of pebbles and poured them into the jar. He shook the jar lightly. The pebbles rolled into the open areas between the golf balls. He then asked the students again if the jar was full, and they agreed it was. The professor next picked up a box of sand and poured it into the jar. Of course, the sand filled up everything else. He asked once more if the jar was full. The students responded with a unanimous yes. The professor then produced 2 cups of coffee from under the table and poured the entire contents into the jar, effectively filling the empty space between the sand. The students laughed. Then he looked at the class and asked, "Well, what is the point of this illustration?" Well, one eager beaver raised his hand and said, "Well, the point is, no matter how full your schedule is, if you try really hard, you can always fit some more things in it." That's me. "No," the speaker replied, "that's not the point. The truth this illustration teaches us is, if you don't put the big rocks in first, you'll never get them in at all. What are the big rocks in your life? Your children, your loved ones, your education, your dreams, a worthy cause, teaching or mentoring others, doing things that you love, time for yourself, your health, your significant other. Remember to put these big rocks in first, or you'll never get them in at all. If you sweat the little stuff, the gravel, the sand, then you'll fill your life with little things you worry about that don't really matter. And you'll never have the real quality time you need to spend on the big, important stuff, the big rocks. So, tonight or in the morning, when you're reflecting on this short story, ask yourself this question: what are the big rocks in my life? Then put those in your jar first. Well, one of the students raised her hand and inquired what the coffee represented. The professor smiled. I'm glad you asked. It just goes to show you that no matter how full your life may seem, there's always room for a couple of cups of coffee with a friend. Love that story. I love, it's just a pleasure to talk about this subject. It's a passion area of mine. And in past years, our Big Rocks of New Year planning have really focused around Big Rock Juice Plus events. And once we put those Big Rock Juice Plus events in our calendar after the big rocks in our personal life, as the story suggested, we add those big rocks. And, COVID just changed everything, right? Events were canceled, postponed, turned virtual on Zoom or Facebook Live. A lot has changed. And moving into 2021, we still don't have 100% clarity on, what events are going to happen and how they'll happen and when they'll happen. And so historically, we've kind of written the dates down. And then we put in our Mission Possible events and things we know that's happening with Mission Possible. And then we fit in our own team and our own business activities and sort of like this trickle down effect. It just kind of like the story shared. But that it just isn't completely possible right now when there's so much that's unknown. But does this mean that we're going to forget about Big Rock planning? No, 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 no. We have an amazing opportunity to think outside the box and plan some things differently and maybe even create some new focus areas. So tonight we are going to share the events that we do know about. So that's why you want to have your planners. But we're also going to shift our thinking into just creating some big rocks for 2021 that are not related to events, but rather our own personal growth, our goals and intentions, and maybe just not what you want to have and do, but maybe who you want to become. So if you're ready, at the bottom of your screen, if you have a laptop, there's a reactions box. I want a thumbs up.
Yeah.
Everybody see that? Yay! All right, well, I'm going to share a story with you. December 2019, a year ago, I was doing this guided journaling exercise where I was, reflecting on the past year and planning for the year ahead for both my personal life and my business life. And this is the time of year to do that. I've done that for a number of years, and I'm sure many of you have as well. And I was asked several questions. And I'm glad this is being recorded because I'll be going through these questions rather quickly. And you may want to come back if some of them resonated with you to ask yourself these. I was asked, what feelings would describe your life right now? What didn't go as planned? What negative habits and thoughts got in your way? What stories are you telling yourself? Well, here are some of the things that I wrote. I feel challenged, scared, disappointed, skeptical, desperate, stuck. This was before COVID. As I read over those statements, I knew I didn't want to feel that way moving into the new year. I know they weren't serving me well. They really weren't who I am. But I went through that exercise of just getting it all out there and creating space for, they called it a negativity dump, where you can just write every excuse, lie, wrong mindset, negative thought that hold you back. And honestly, I think there was smoke coming off my pen. It was so fun just getting all of that out there and having space to put all the stuff that I had allowed in my life. And it was really freeing and it felt really, really good to do that. Well, the next part of the exercise was, well, what are you most excited about right now? What's going right? What went right? What positive actions and habits and thoughts helped those things go right? What would your life look like if you overcame the negativity and the obstacles? When will it be time to let those negative stories and feelings go? What are you grateful for? What are you proud of this year? Where does fear show up and where does it come from? What is the absolute worst thing that could happen if you would attempt to face that fear? How could you turn that into something positive? Do you have hidden fears like overthinking or perfectionism or procrastination? What can be done about those? What would being kind to yourself look like? Like I had to write out, what would being kind to myself look like? What are 5 positive I am statements that I can say about myself? What are my core values? I love this question. What is your awesome sauce? Mission Possible, what is your awesome sauce? What would your life and business look like if you overcame these things and started living in your most truthful and confident version of yourself? What does success mean to you? What are your priorities? What do you never want to sacrifice? What 3 areas of your business need more focus for the next year? Describe your best day. How does it start? How does it end? What does it look like, feel like, sound like? This, I have to tell you, was such a powerful exercise for me. It took several days to complete it, but it absolutely flipped my mindset and my attitude, from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset, from defeated to victorious, from doubtful to hopeful, from unmotivated to inspired. And so it's really led to just a lot of goals and activities that transformed my life in 2020. I haven't miraculously changed overnight. It's been a process for sure. And I still catch myself letting those negative thoughts and past experiences trip me up. But I've given permission to a few close friends to call me on that. And I'm recognizing now when it's happening. And I'm able to squelch those thoughts a little faster and a little easier. So you might be asking, well, but did this really do anything? Like, did this affect your business? Well, so glad you asked that. It's affected every part of my life, honestly. But since this is a business call, I will share about that. I've had the best year ever since starting my Juice Plus business 16 years ago. Our team's volume has almost tripled since last November. And in case November was a fluke, we have for sure solidly doubled. I can finally see the position of QNMD on the horizon after being its senior sales coordinator for 9 years. So what's this got to do with big rocks? Well, because your mind, your thoughts, your feelings, your relationship with yourself is a big rock.
Yeah.
And it needs attention on a very, very regular basis, but especially this time of year when we're reflecting back and looking ahead. So big rock number 1, do a year in review. Make a date with yourself to reflect on your mindset. Where is it? And where do you want it to be? Ask yourself some of those questions that I asked myself. And we also have a couple of tools that we're going to share with you to help you do that and get some of those thoughts on paper. And share those with a team leader or a teammate who can support you and encourage you along the way. Big rock number 2, consider just creating a theme of the year or even a word of the year. And here's the key. The best themes or words of the year bring a feeling that inspires you to keep going. They bring a feeling that inspires you to keep going. Play was my word for 2020, and I did really well with it until midsummer when I ran out of ideas. Maybe COVID had something to do with that, but I'm going to keep the same word for next year, and plan some new creative words. And Sharon, I know that one word has been something that has been a practice of yours and something that you have valued. So would love for you to share a little bit about one word.
Thank you, Paula. I think I can unpin you, but maybe not. Thank you, Paula. So yes, in 2016, I was introduced to two things: the concept of my one word, and the book, My One Word, Change Change Your Life with Just One Word. And so I know that words have power. And I think you guys would agree with me that words do have power. And what we say to ourselves have great power. And what we focus on has great power. And Mike Ashcroft and Rachel Olson, who wrote, there's a few different books. This book is the one that I settled on, by Mike Ashcroft and Rachel Olson. So 2016, I was introduced to this. And since I believe that words have power, I just embraced it and I read it. And I'm rereading it right now this month as I pray, seek, write about my word for 2021. But I'll just share, I've done this now, I think it's 5 years, but I want to share two words with you. All the words have had great impact in my life, but specific, and one of the reasons why I'm saying I want to share this with you is our lives are not lived, and Paula emphasized this really beautifully, in boxes or compartments. We're not compartmentalized where you walk from one box to the other. Everything we do affects every area of our life, whether we realize it or not. When you stop to think that we're soul, body, mind, spirit, all of those things. And I actually wrote down about choosing a word for your year that could impact your life. How about your work life, your home life, family life, your health, your finances, your friendship, your faith, any number of things that could be affected by one word. So uh, I have it written. I have little cards and I have scriptures that go along with these. But and before anybody turns me off about the scriptures, like our whole life is affected when we choose a word. So I chose a word, and two of the words I'll share with you. One of them was others. I forget. I think in fact, my granddaughter bought a little thing for me. It says, love God, love others. But my focus on others that year was how to serve others. And then my scripture was really, how could I spur love others on to love and good deeds? And that really played well in my family life, in my community, certainly my business life. And then last year, my word was generous. And I don't know, I mean, I just started reading about generous early in the year, and I'm like, generous. And I did a lot of study on the word generous. And generous is not just about finances. Generous is with being, what I learned from the word generous last year was being generous with my time, my resources, my encouragement, my acknowledgement, cheering others on, being generous with, acknowledging when somebody does a good job, from a server in a restaurant to you all, to my family, acknowledging people and paying attention to what they're doing. So this year I'm working on, and this year my word was trust. And wow, that's been an incredible word. Had to trust the process this year, didn't we? I've had to trust a lot of things this year that we didn't know was going to happen. So the words have made choosing a word. So I just encourage you guys, if you've not done that, I think many of you do, but if you have not done that, it is a wonderful exercise. And Mike Ashcroft really sets his tone early on in that book. It's like we have New Year's resolutions. It's like we have a lot to do, but if we focused on one word by the end of a certain period of time, how much impact could we make with that word? So thanks, Paul. I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Sharon. That was great. And I see those words reflected in who you are and who you have become. It's awesome when you see those in action. So, all right. So Big Rock 1, do a year in review. Big Rock 2, create a theme or word. Big Rock 3, I'm calling focus and strategy. What are 3 to 4 areas that would help your business grow if they had more of your attention, skill development, and practice? What are 3 to 4 areas that would help your business grow if they had more of your attention, skill development, and practice? I've chosen my 3 for the year. They're going to be social media, branding myself, and team development. I'm making plans to grow those areas throughout 2021. But I do want to share a focus that I utilized in 2020 that I feel like helped my business growth. So if you've been around for a while, you know that we have the 2 by 2 by 2 daily method of operation sheet where you contact 2 new people every day, you follow up with 2 people every day, you contact 2 customers every day. And what I did, what I felt like was going to work the best for me, was to take those categories and do them one category one day a week. So Mondays is my team day where I contact my team and I do all of them on one day. Not that you don't bleed over a little bit, but Wednesdays is my customer care day. Thursdays is my inviting into the team day. And I think the reason that has worked so well for me is, it takes a little bit of gumption or grit or courage to sometimes get the ball rolling for a certain customer type, like prospecting for the product or reaching out to invite into the team. But once you've got going, you're on a roll and you want to keep going. And so that is what ended up working for me, was to have a dedicated day for each of those categories rather than doing 2 of each every day. So the tool is there. I'm just making the tool fit more of how I am wired up. So that's just one area of focus and strategy. So 3 to 4 areas. Big Rock 4 is our actual schedule of events. Sharon, I know you've got at least some events that we do know about that you are going to be sharing with us now. So we want to get your planners out.
Okay, get your planners out, and I'm quickly going to share. I did as fast as I could today a little calendar of things that you guys, and we can make this available. We generally do one every month, but what we know of 21 Big Rocks, certainly I would encourage you guys put the Monday Mission Possible team call in there is a big rock. Obviously things happen and we can't always be there, but if it's in your calendar, you will work around it. You will make a plan. As far as I know, not confirmed yet, but somewhere in January 7th and the 8th, you've all heard about a qualifiers event for both brand new qualifiers and established qualifiers. They're thinking some 10,000 people globally that corporate will be sponsoring. So I don't know the details. I don't know the time, but we have a general sense of that. January the 30th, I learned from BJ today, the Branson boot camp leaders will be doing a virtual boot camp on the 30th, which is a Saturday. So mark it in your calendar now. We know how powerful the Branson boot camp always is, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Now, our spring and fall conference are on the books. You can see there April, and we should be in Phoenix if it goes through. And the NMDs have a meeting. All NMDs globally have a meeting this Thursday, so we'll learn more. August the 6th and 7th, PJ Regional. And then again, October the 21st and 23rd, Fall Juice Plus Live. Woohoo! Wouldn't it be fun to be in St. Louis, where many of our people are in the middle part of the country. So we'll get this out to you guys, but you might want to get this in your calendar, start getting this in your thinking and how you plan. And I'll just say one other quick thing about Big Rocks. What I love about putting Big Rocks, both my Juice Plus in, but sometimes you've got graduations and weddings and you've got other certain things. Make sure you build those in and make those personal Big Rocks as important as your Juice Plus, because here's what I know. 10 years from now, if there was a wedding in my family that was important to my family and I didn't show up, people would know. So I was like, you all wouldn't know if I showed up on a Monday night, but somebody in my family would know if I didn't show up for a special family event. So family events and commitments are important. So please know that we say that in high value. So back to you, Paula.
All right, thank you for that. So the final Big Rock number 5, hold things loosely. There's so much we can't control right now. The tighter we hold, the more paralyzed we get, and the more we strangle everybody else around us, I think. And there's some people who are saying, sayonara 2020, don't let the door hit you on the way out, right? I, for one, have benefited. I know there's been challenges and hard things, but I've benefited from removing some things from my life that I normally would be overcommitted to. And I believe that is also one of those things that I didn't plan for, but I believe it helped me grow my business because I was home to grow my business. And so I'm super mindful moving into 2021 about, if things open up, evaluating where are my priorities, where are my non-negotiables, and where do I want to spend time building my business. So lighten up and your business will brighten up. How many times have we heard Sharon say that? I know she has said that to me. I think it's finally starting to sink in. Lightening up could be, in our mind attitude, play is my word, but lightening up could be your schedule as well, if you are able. And for me, I have enjoyed more cups of coffee with friends this year than ever before, and I intend to do the same, and I hope you do as well. So Sharon, back to you.
Thank you, Paula. Well done. Well done. And I'm so glad this was recorded so that we can go back and search some of these questions again. So thank you. And we pray that as we do step into 2021, that we will have learned from this year. What have we learned, and how can we take those learnings and those growth into the next year? Because everything affects everything, and we're building. So love you guys so much. Thank you for being here. And Cami will put this out this week. So be blessed and have a super week. Let's be a blessing to someone this week. Good night, everybody. Thank you, Paula. Thank you.
Thank you, Paula.
Sharon.
Thank you,
Thank
Sharon.
you. Great job.
Awesome.
Great job,
Awesome.
Paula.
Night.
Great
Thank
job,
you.
Paula. Thanks, Sharon.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Great job.